Kenya Kwanza Alliance on Thursday, June 30th launched their manifesto to Kenyans in a colorful event held at the Kasarani Stadium. The coalition's presidential flag bearer, Dr. William Ruto, unpacked his 5-point agenda for Kenyans on his manifesto dubbed the Plan.
We are believers in building institutions. Kenya Kwanza does not believe in personality cults. We believe in institutions. We will promote and respect Parliament as an institution. We will promote and respect the judiciary as an institution, because it is only by so doing that we can build institutions strong enough to support the kind of program that we want. And I was once told that the best way to support an institution is to criticize it when it goes wrong. So we will be open to criticism from any quarter. And we will also point out to other institutions when we see they are not doing the right thing. And that is the nature of democracy. But we will ensure that every institution has what it takes to discharge their mandate in accordance with the Constitution.
It captures MSMEs in financing, agriculture and food security, housing and settlement, healthcare access, digital superhighway and creative economy.
Hustler Fund, please, Hustler Fund on 50 billion. My people would like to benefit on that fund. And of course, what is as Muslims or as our religion, we are not allowed to take interest. Is it a free interest, or is there interest in that billion? We are learning. Thank you.
We will make the Hustler Fund Sharia compliant, so you don't have to worry about that. And we are actually going to make sure that it is devolved and it will be operationalized at every ward. It will not even be at the county. The Hustler Fund operating unit will be at the ward, so that many people can have access to it. So your people, your great people, will have access. As Kenya Kwanza, we have said, one, we are going to double the allocation to Higher Education Loans Board to remove the constraint of them trying to allocate scholarships. The constraint was how much money they had. With the increased allocation to Higher Education Loans Board, I am sure they might consider your application this time favorably. We have also undertaken as Kenya Kwanza that the interest charged on higher education loans will be waived. There will be no interest paid. It is said that currently you have to pay 4%. We have said that 4% will be waived. The Higher Education Loans Board will be loans will be interest free. You've asked me about the film industry, what we're going to do about it. First, we will make sure that we will expedite the passage of the Creative Economy Bill. That Creative Economy Bill will actually give us the film fund, because therein, in the Creative Economy Bill, we have built in a fund. That fund will now make it possible for the film industry in Kenya, first, to ensure that you can have access to modern equipment. You can borrow money, hire, buy modern equipment to build our film industry. You can also, using the bill, it speaks to reviewing policies and charges across counties, so that filmmakers are not charged levies and fees in this county and in the next county when they are making their films. We have also established a green channel for filmmakers who want to make their way to Kenya, because there have been impediments on matters to do with their equipment being confiscated at the airport, them not being allowed, being charged huge levies and fees. We are going to review all that so that it makes it much more easy for filmmakers to find their way to Kenya. Because in any case, once they are doing their filming in Kenya, they hire our staff, they eat our food, they sleep in our hotels, they spend their money here. I think that's a bigger benefit than the little fees we have imposed on filmmakers coming to Kenya. So, using the bill, my good brother, we will establish a film ecosystem that is going to make sure that filmmakers have the best environment to deliver on good quality products at rates that are reasonable.
On an overview, the manifesto notes that one of their first priorities in the next government is to navigate the economy on a post-COVID-19 era, while at the same time making a decisive break from the business-as-usual economic policies and carry out bold economic reforms in a coherent fashion so as to accelerate job creation and leave no one behind in the empowerment process through better governed and revitalized cooperative societies.
First of all, we will make sure under the program we have on the merger, we'll make sure that you get enough scholarship to buy food. So you may not need the Hustler Fund to buy food in the university, because we will make it work. The problem at the moment is that the scholarship you are being given is way below the living amount that you require to stay in college. So that's why you have to hustle around to close the gap on food. We will make sure that that is closed by making sure that we deploy resources. We have actually undertaken that we will double the Higher Education Loans Board Fund, so that not just more students can access it, but you can access the full scholarship. Many people are on half scholarship and that kind of thing. That's number one. Number two, you have said whether the Hustler Fund will be available for even university students. We have said the Hustler Fund will be available for everybody who has an idea. In fact, we've said even the people who are working online, if you have developed an app and you need some money, there will be available crowdfunding, there will be available venture capital, there will be available. That Hustlers Fund will go all the way. In fact, we might ring fence a percentage of the Hustler Fund to help people in the digital space so that they can actualize their enterprises which are in the digital space. If you go to a facility where internet is, there is internet, you do not need bundles. You know, what we are trying to do is the same way we do a road to a place. That is, we want to do, that's why we are calling it the digital superhighway. We want to make it available for free in every market, in every school, in every hospital, so long as there is connection to the grid. Every place that's connected to grid, you will have internet available in that space. And it will be government funded.
On micro, small and medium enterprise MSME economy, the coalition plans to end criminalization of work. They will enact right laws, making trading licenses and provision of trading locations a right to every citizen who applies.
The challenge of CRB is that today, many of the people listed on CRB have borrowed money either from Shylocks and largely Fuliza and the other predatory lenders. In fact, we have said as Kenya Kwanza, we are going to, if you look at our manifesto, we have said that we are going to have a consumer protection mechanism so that predatory lenders that charge interest rates that are unreasonable and punitive are excluded from the financial market, so that too many people don't end up in CRB over credit or over loans that they acquired that have impossible interest rates. So we are also going to protect consumers, whether it is consumers of financial services or whether it's consumers of other items, to make sure that nobody takes advantage of the people of Kenya.
When you're going to get passports or other documents, it's difficult. Life in Kenya becomes very difficult. So one of the things that Kenya Kwanza wants to do is to make life simple. When you make life simple, when you know you can access a youth fund, when you have other access of finance, then you do not find yourself in the quagmire of the CRB. And then also, we need to be in a country that is also realistic. When people get into business, especially young people, yes, they are going to default. There are going to be problems and a few problems. I have met people in Machakos and other places. People are just trying to be shoe shiners already in CRB. People are suffering. Watu, hakuna mtu yuko na simu moja siku hizi, kila mtu ana simu tatu. Anakuambia tuma kwa hii, usitume kwa hii, because it's all about fuliza. So as Kenya Kwanza, and we've had the manifesto, it's about, as we lower the cost of living, we want to make the life of Kenyans bearable. You want to be able to wake up in the morning, go out, do your thing, work hard, and you'll get a return at the end of the day, and unaweza jienjoy. And that's where it comes down to. So hii shida ndogo ya CRB, hiyo itaenda wakati Kenya Kwanza itakuwa kwa ofisi.
Thank you very much.
On housing and settlement, their plan is to turn the housing deficit into an economic opportunity. Next to agriculture, see housing production is the sector that will create employment for over 100,000 young Kenyans that are graduating from TVET every year directly into the construction sector.
One of the critical areas is to make sure that the programs we are talking about are within the confines of a balanced budget, so that we can cut down on the desire or the appetite to borrow. The Deputy President has given examples of how we can grow revenue, but on the other side, we must make sure that we start working towards curtailing these huge budget deficits that we have, so that we can tame this issue that we call debt. And he has given you our plan. The profile. You have the domestic debt, and then you have the external debt. Both have inherent risks. The domestic debt cripples the economy, cripples lending, and so forth. The external debt can also put you into a lot of difficulty when the exchange rate is in trouble, and we are beginning to see a bit of that now. The central bank is rationing foreign exchange, and we are beginning to see our importers beginning to have trouble in getting raw materials for their factories. So we have to work on that basis. But I want to assure you, and the Kenyans who are listening, that there is also honor in making sure that you settle your obligations. So we as a Kenya Kwanza government will make sure that we honor our obligations, because these are sovereign debt. They may have been entered into difficult situations, but primarily we must be a country that pays its debt. And as Kenya Kwanza, we intend to do just that. Finally, let me highlight that within the Kenya Kwanza fraternity, there is Honorable Sakwa Bunyasi. Sakwa Bunyasi is seeking to be governor of Busia. He's an economist. He has worked with the World Bank. And Sakwa Bunyasi has actually brought a bill which was deliberately delayed until Parliament has gone into sine die, which was to tackle the issue of transparency and better risk assessment and management of our public debt. When we take over, we will make sure that that bill finds its way to the floor of the House. And just something that the El Chamos young man mentioned, I wish to remind you, maybe you are not there, that we went with the Deputy President Ruto to Baringo, and we were guests at a gathering of the minorities, the Jemos, and it's good to also note that in the Deputy President's office, he has an officer who is dedicated to looking into the issues of the minorities. Thank you.
It is not right, 50 years after independence, that we have Kenyans living as squatters. The same way that we did at independence, this is another moment where we are going to spend public resources to buy land and settle Kenyans who are living as squatters. I think that is, with clarity, our intention. And this was brought mainly by the people from the coast region. But I can see it is spread elsewhere.
I have interacted with some of our proposals from the regions regarding the subject, and the proposals and solutions also being offered from the people themselves is that the government can take up a very quick, in-depth, detailed audit so that we can establish where these landlords are, if they exist, the amount of land by way of acreage that is held by the so-called absentee landlords, and then the government will take stock of that. Most of the times, the solution given by the people themselves is that the government can buy the land and redistribute to the people at the cost of government, because there is a cost to the land staying idle. We are not farming on it, we are not doing any economic activities on it, and therefore the question of even paying lease fees is not sufficient. We would rather utilize the land.
On healthcare, they are committed and determined to provide Kenyans constitutional right to health in the shortest time possible by delivering a universal health coverage UHC system in the 3 pillars built.
If NHIF was working, we wouldn't be having a discussion about this. We are having this discussion because NHIF, as it is not working. And that is why NHIF is not working for different reasons. Number one, NHIF as it is today has too many exclusions. They will tell you if you are suffering from cancer, you are excluded. If you are suffering from hypertension, you are excluded. If you are suffering from a terminal disease, you are excluded. Those are the exclusions we want to get rid of in our new plan. So that when you have the NHIF card, and for your information, it will be we have organized it in 3 layers. The primary service, which will be in up to level 3 hospital, will be paid for fully by public resources. We've also made sure that we turn it around. Today, many people before even any diagnosis, they go to a level 4 hospital. We want to make sure that we invest more in preventing, going to the dispensary, going to the health center, and making sure there is medical personnel at the health center and there is medicine at the health center. The reason why people do not go to the health centers, and in fact, there is congestion in level 4 hospitals, is because there are no personnel in the dispensary. There is no medicine in dispensary. We want to make sure under this plan, and that is why we are saying we are going to have an integrated health management system that makes sure that every dispensary and every health center not only has staff, but also has medicine. If we did that, we would remove the congestion in Kenyatta National Hospital, because people with flu are now going to Kenyatta Hospital. People with minor injuries are going to big hospitals. So we want to remove the congestion, and that is the difference we are going to make by ensuring that we have a health management system that is integrated, and we also procure drugs in a manner that is going to give us leverage in terms of cost, and also ensure that the whole exercise is turned upside down. We do more of preventive and less of curative. At the moment, we are doing more curative and less preventive, and it's because of the structure of the current health provision system.
We have very serious homicides across the country and security breakdown because, first and foremost, the police service is demoralized. For the last 10 years, nobody has bothered about the police. The last time their allowances and their salaries were reviewed was the time of President Mwai Kibaki. Yet, the cost of living has really hit our police officers to an extent that in the police lines, every month, there are policemen shooting each other or killing themselves because of depression. The policemen, we must empathize with them because they feel very bad because they have been totally misused and nobody has bothered to think about them. Monies meant for criminal intelligence by the DCI has been held at the office of the president by the accounting officer, and this is money that now will be free once we get an accounting officer for the police service, for the National Police Service. They'll have money for criminal intelligence. There is a fund at the office of the president controlled by the accounting officer there. That fund for the last 5 years is what has been diverted to fund the BBI, to fund the Azimio campaign, and build hotels for that accounting officer across the country. And this is money now that will be available to the police, and that will create an enhanced efficiency. Because it is money that is confidential, it is not audited, it is not accounted, and the police can use it to buy information. So we want to assure the people of Kenya that the police themselves, by the way, let us understand them. In fact, they are willing to be good people. This money they collect on the road, they collect because sometimes they have no food. Sometimes they say they are told to escort money from a bank, 200 million, and themselves they don't have 10 shillings in the pocket. Sometimes being human beings can be very tempting. So we are saying that within the first 100 days, we will review their terms of service, pay them well, and in return they have agreed. In return, they have agreed to reciprocate and be good people so that we can have a friendly police service like we have in the first world, where the police protect business, not harass business. We are giving an example, and many people think it's not doable, that in the fullness of time, after we review their terms and we agree with them that they need to change their attitude, that Kenyans are not their enemies, they need to protect them, their life and property. We will reach a situation in a year or so where when the police officers find you at night on your way home, probably you have taken 1 or 2 to try to get some sleep. If they put you in a Land Cruiser, they don't take you to the police station, they take you home to your wife. That is the situation we are looking at. And we want to assure our police officers and the prison warders that their cry has been heard by the Kenya Kwanza principles. And even among the recommendations that shall be implemented is their request that all non-commissioned officers, that is senior sergeant downwards, up to the constable, at the age of 50, if they want, they will be allowed to serve in their home counties so that they can prepare for retirement near home. So we are looking at a good situation progressively, where we allow the police to do what they are paid to do, and they are saying, even the police themselves, they feel bad that they have been misused to arrest people who have committed no crime, to plant evidence on people who have done nothing. And they are saying once they get the financial independence, they will be able to operate freely and independently. And finally, on the public service, we want to assure our civil servants across the country, their cry has been heard about career progression, that officers would want career civil servants to rise from the point of entry to the highest level in the civil service, including being the head of the public service. Because they cry that they are demoralized, because they don't grow beyond a certain position. Other people come from the private sector and then they stagnate at certain grades. So we want to assure the public service that your time is now. Work hard, stay focused, and you can grow from an assistant secretary cadet all the way to a principal secretary. You can grow from an accountant to the accountant general. You can grow from an assistant engineer to the chief engineer roles. So once that is settled, I think our public service will be well motivated and their morale will be boosted and will have productivity for the people of Kenya. And we are asking the public service that the people of Kenya want less and less government in people's lives and more services to the people of Kenya. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Our transport and infrastructure sector, which is one of the sectors that has been bedeviled by an animal known as state capture. It started with the takeover of our ports, berths number 20 and 21 in the port of Mombasa, and giving it to a foreign company by the name of Mediterranean Shipping Company. We were promised that we will get 10,000 seafarers trained and hired by that company. After it was given away, not a single job, not a single Kenyan has been hired for these jobs. We saw it further with a skewed budgetary allocation. When we talk about moving the port of Mombasa to Naivasha, to private land of some people, that is the epitome of state capture. We saw it further in the aviation industry, which you have touched on. The attempts to merge Kenya Airways with Kenya Airport Authority and creating a behemoth that was supposed to create a big enough balance sheet for some people to be able to continue leasing their aircraft to Kenya Airways, which we know. So I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is that it's true that there are reports that the port is gone. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and the team elaborated on this yesterday, and only then did our Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury attempt to respond to it. So I have reasons to believe that the port is gone. That's the bad news. But the good news is that within the first 7 days of the Kenya Kwanza administration, we shall reverse all that. And we shall institute investigations into all the market deals, including registering companies abroad and pretending that they are foreign owned. We are going to lift the veil of incorporation to identify the ultimate beneficial owners of these companies, including the so-called local partner for the Nairobi Expressway, which you know very well. They are people. It is done by people who are in this government who accuse other people of corruption, and they pretend to be cleaner than Caesar's wife, but they are actually rotten and they are mired in corruption. So I want you to ask Your Excellency, ukishindwa na mtu wa kufanya hiyo kazi, Niachia watu nitanyorosha. And let me touch on something that slightly unrelated. Somebody asked about the Hustlers Fund, which is very close to my heart. And somebody asked whether this fund is going to be available for people in Northeastern and our Muslim brothers. Within the Kenya Kwanza team, economic team, we've got a certain experts, one with 20 years local and international experience on banking matters and financial matters, and two, who is also an expert in Islamic banking, who is going to work to ensure that even our Muslim brothers access this fund. And that gentleman is known as Moses Kuria. Thank you very much.
On ICT and creative economy, they shall increase and enhance broadband connectivity in the country through the construction of 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic connectivity network and accelerate the development of Konza Technopolis.
On conservation tourism and generally on the tourism sector, you have had at this point in time, we have been stuck at about 2.5 or so million tourists coming to the country. And also we have a limitation in the advancement of local tourism. And our conversation is not just limited to conservation tourism, which I would understand you meant conservation of wildlife, but also we have conservation of our natural resources, of our wetlands, of our forests, and these are sectors that we would want to explore with regard to tourism. But broadly, even beyond that, we would want our tourism sector to expand to focus on other things, adventure tourism, agricultural tourism. For example, if you go to South Africa, their largest contributor to tourism in South Africa is actually tourism to the wine farms. We have coffee farms, we have farms that grow rice and etc. So what is the strategy? The strategy is to provide incentives that make it possible for people to provide services that will encourage people to go and tour and participate in those areas. Like, for example, in your area where we're talking about the Savo, or if it's the areas where we have wildlife, the government would provide security, ensure that those people who are coming for tourism in that area feel secure enough to go and explore. But we also will provide incentives as the government to small businesses, individuals, and communities that organize this tourism in their areas, giving them incentives on the revenue that they get, ensuring that they have enough tax incentives so that they are willing to put up structures similar, allow me to use the word without necessarily branding, to use the structures like the Airbnb that young people used to book. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you will go and stay in a 5-star hotel, but communities can provide accommodation, for example, where you go and experience how that community lives, how they interact with the wildlife, how they interact with their community, how they conserve their communities, their way of life and their culture. So that incentive structure and ensuring that there is adequate security, and also providing incentives so that communities that are not very well off can provide for the middle and lower class to be able also to go for these tourism excursions, so that instead of spending 10,000 shillings a night, we can have groups, whether it's from university, young people, people from our communities leaving our counties and going to, let's say, the county in like Kipia, and the young people are secured, they're assured that the government is providing adequate security when they go, for example, live with the community, camp out there, find these facilities, because there will be internet. Some of the things that this internet is going to help us do is that you will be able, those people will be able to market the services that they provide, so that you know that they exist, so that you can actually book them and go there. So all these are interrelated. with the provision of also the last mile internet connectivity and whatever it is that is going in the tourism sector. Allow me, Your Excellency, to just add one thing on another issue that I think we discussed, and I just want to draw an interlinkage with the issue of debt repayment. Right now we have a problem, a shortage of the foreign exchange. And I just thought it's important that we mention that when you talk about the agricultural sector, and you say that you're going to increase the production, say, of rice. Right now, the importation of rice, wheat and palm oil, the amount of money that we use to import is about 25% of the foreign exchange that we use foreign exchange that we get in exportation. Yes. Now, if we grow the agricultural sector, I just want to show the linkages. If we increase the production of rice in Mwea, for example, from the current 110 metric tons to, let's say, 220,000 metric tons, you will have enough foreign exchange freed that can go to the contribution of the payment of the debt. So I just thought it's important that I mention that, so that people know that this plan, the Kenya Kwanza government has a plan that has been very well thought out. It's very comprehensive. We have tried to simplify it, but there is actually a plan that interrelates in various value chains, and all of that will result not just in us being able to manage our debt, but also improving the cost of living and contributing greatly to economic growth. Thank you.
Very well put, Anne.
My question is, what is your Kenya Kwanza plan on fighting corruption? Secondly, myself and many other youths are on CLB listing. What is your plan?
As Kenya Kwanza, our strategy on fighting corruption is in depoliticizing and removing the weaponization of our criminal justice system, and instead building those institutions, the capacity of those institutions, whether it is the DCI, whether it's the EACC, whether it's the entire police force. We want them to have an independent budget. We want them to control their budget the way they know how. We want them to investigate every incident without hindrance and without looking back, without anybody telling them that if they go this way, they will not get funding. That is why we are removing that's why we are removing this Office of the President Accounting Officer in charge of the police. We want the police to do their thing on their own. That is why we are saying the judiciary should have financial independence, so that the judiciary can rule any way they want on any case without bothering whether they will get funding or not. That is our strategy on fighting corruption. And number two, you have had statements, political statements. Oh, we are going to have the COVID billionaires arrested in 20 days. We are going to jail corrupt people. Those are political statements. Anybody who is serious about fighting corruption should be building the institutions that fight corruption. As Kenya Kwanza, we want to build these institutions to the level where if the president is corrupt, the system will have him arrested and jailed. As simple as that. That's what happens. That's how the president of Korea was arrested and jailed. It's because the system worked. It is not the president wanted. It is not because the president decided. If it was the decision of the president, would you think she would have been arrested? So a system where the president still can decide who is arrested and who is not arrested is not a system that works. It is as simple as that.
From Ahero, a candidate for Ahero Ward, Nyando constituency, Kisumu County. I just had one concern over the production of agriculture. For one, in Kisumu or in Nyando, we are dying. One, we are having factories, sugar factories like Chemelil. We have Moroni and Miwani, which died long ago. I would wish to request or ask if what plan as the Kenya Kwanza we have for these factories, because the life is terrible. Even if somebody may think that Kisumu is okay, but Kisumu is no more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question.
Asante sana. Baba, mimi kwa majina naitwa Bernard Odinga, mimi ni candidate huko Rarieda constituency. Na mimi ni mvuvi pia. Sisi kazi yetu ni kufua samaki baba. Kwa ajenda zako hatujasikia tutapata usaidizi namna gani kule Siaya. Kwa sababu baba, unaona mambo ya lake. Sisi tunateswa kule vibaya sana na watu wa Uganda. Hatuna security. Katika serikali yetu hii ya Kenya Kwanza, tutapata usaidizi namna gani baba? Baba, jambo la pili.
Okay.
Nataka kusema tena baba, sisi ni watoto wako kutoka Siaya. Wakati ulikuwa Kisumu nilikuuliza kuja Siaya, ulisema after December. Bado ninakuomba sasa kama candidate yako. Tafadhali, tuko Siaya, tuko na governor Siaya, tuko na women rep Siaya, tuko na makandidate wako wengi Siaya. Baba, kuja Siaya, hata kama ni kura moja tutakupea bwana.
The last time we were in the economic forum in Kisumu, you remember very well the subject of the blue economy, what we need to do about interventions in the fishing industry, the kind of fishing gear, the cages, the cage production of fish, and we undertook that we are going to have a comprehensive plan on the blue economy that will leverage on the competitive edge that we have as a country and deploy even the Hustlers Fund to make sure that fishermen and people in that industry not only have access to cold rooms, but also processing facilities for our fish so that we can add value and stop selling our fish raw. So I think we have a plan there. And on your request that I visit Siaya, definitely I will visit Siaya. Definitely. On the interventions on Chemelil, Mohoroni, and Miwani, let me tell you, what I said about Mumias and Nzoia applies to also those 3 other sugar mills because they are government-owned sugar mills. We will not only write off government debt, but we will also negotiate with all the other stakeholders who have loans, whether they are banks or the other institutions, so that we can pay off those debts, get the sugar mills free of debt, and now begin the journey to make them productive once again the same way the other private sugar mills are productive. That is the strategy we have so that we can continue to enhance the incomes of sugarcane farmers as we do for all the other farming communities.
Some of the leaders present included the coalition's running mate Rigathi Gachagua, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, Speaker of the National Assembly Justin Muturi, Alfred Mutua, among other leaders.